I'm audible, visible to all of you. Welcome to StudyIQ IAS English channel. My name is Shubham Sagar. Today we have to talk about lecture 34, which is about socio-religious reform movements. And again, here we have to talk about what? Here we have to talk about certain portions of Bengal Renaissance. Even if we don't go there, even if we don't talk about Bengal Renaissance, one thing which is very important, which you have to understand is, we keep on talking about abolition of Sati rather. We keep on talking about Widow Remarriage Act, an act which was passed in 1856 allowing widow remarriage to happen. Then there are other aspects also, acts to prevent female infanticide. And then there are so many things which we have to talk about when we are talking about socio-religious reform movements, and it is important from both pre as well as mains perspective. Let's say you talk about Arya Samaj, let's say you talk about Ramakrishna Mission, let's say you talk about Dayanand Saraswati or Swami Vivekanand or Jyotiba Phule or caste movement or socio-religious reform movements in minority sphere. So there are so many dimensions associated with this particular topic. So we'll deal with it one by one. We'll take different dimensions. We'll try to understand it from both pre and mains perspective, mostly from pre perspective, but this particular knowledge will also help you in mains. So this is one question which can be asked in pre as well as mains. So they can ask you, what were the causes of social awakening? What happened instantaneously, did they eat Mentos and they're like, our brains light has now ignited and now we can do all this stuff? What has happened? What were the different causes of social awakening? What led to rise of socio-religious reform movements? So here you have to talk about different kinds of ills which consisted in our society, like caste system, and we have subordination of women concept. We talked about it. The concept of sati, it was very, very prevalent. It's not like when we talk about sati, we talk about women burning or going to burning pyre and giving up their life. You may feel like, sir, this was such an old concept. Believe me, even currently, this particular thing happens in certain sphere of our society we don't know anything about. So this thing has been banned, but still in certain areas, if you read news minutely, if you research about it, you will understand these things happen. It's not like it has evaporated, although it's very, very, very rare, as Ram is saying. So you have to understand what caused this social awakening, our condition, impact of British rule. So Britishers came and they're like, dude, your society is so decadent. You must have heard about something known as white man's burden. There was a guy whose poems and rhymes, which we have studied a lot in childhood. His name was Rudyard Kipling. So this guy came, and more often than not, if you have read him, we all have read about him or read his poems in school and childhood. Good evening, Divya. But the point is, we have had a very positive notion about this guy, Rudyard Kipling. But when you read about his white man's burden theory, you may not like him that much, the amount of affection which we had for Rudyard Kipling's poem in childhood, you may not have the same amount of affection now, because his theory, white man's burden theory, you may have heard about it. It says that these people, these black people, brown people, we are not exactly black, they used to call us brown people. So we brown people, black people, our culture is decadent, we believe in polytheism, we do idolatry, we have a circular time concept, Treta Yug, Dwapar Yug, Satyug, Kal Yug. So it's the duty of white men and these people, white people and Britishers and other white people, to civilize us. So impact of British rule, these British people, they are the 1813 Act, Charter Act of 1813, Christian missionaries allowed to come to India, propagate their Christianity and other stuff. Again, I cannot talk much about that these days. I don't know what can offend whom. So again, all these things also had an impact on the causes of social awakening. So again, when you're talking about, we'll talk about these people later on also. Good evening, Priya. So you will realize one thing. Among these Britishers people, it's not like everyone was bad. Human in general, they're not good or bad. We are all grey by nature. Someone will be more good than bad, someone will be more bad than good. So that happens. So here also in Europeans, there will be two groups. One group will be Orientalist group, other group will be Anglicist group. So Anglicist group will be the ones who are more or less supporting this white man's burden theory, and they're like, our culture is superior, our language is superior, we are so awesome, we are so cute. That is what they actually believe in. So Orientalist and Anglicist, these two groups have been created among European people. Anglicist people, they are the people who believe that Western education is the way to go as far as Indian people are concerned. We have to, and they have to learn English language and all those stuff. Cool. Now, this is just a basic summary. They were much more than that. Western education is the norm for Indian people and English language they have to learn. It's more about, like, other things are also involved here. When we talk about Orientalist people, Orient, there is a word called Orient here. Orient means Far East. So again, please understand this Orient, Far East. So when we talk about Britain, from there, if you look in the eastward direction, you will see different, like Japan is Far East. We are not that Far East, but we are in the eastern part. So Orient people. So Orientalists are those guys who want to learn the culture of the eastern continent and eastern countries or eastern people. So these are called Orientalists. In simpler terms, Orientalist people are those people who feels like we need to know India's culture if you want to rule over India. And it's not only confined to India, it's about all the eastern countries or most of the eastern countries which they had under their control. So they're like, dude, we need to know their culture. You cannot rule over a particular country without knowing about their culture. You have to know their culture. You have to know their society. You have to know their past. And these guys are the Orientalist guys. So they are in general more, and some of these guys, they are very, very supportive towards our culture. Like, we will talk about William Jones. You have Warren Hastings also. Many people put him in the Orientalist bracket. Anglicist people, here you will hear about Lord Macaulay, even Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Many people put him in the bracket of Anglicist. We'll talk more about him later. You will understand why many people put him in the bracket of Anglicist. Although he was one of the first modern man of India, we call Raja Ram Mohan Roy. So, as Priya is asking, I'm seeing an ad here. Which is the best book for Priya, I'm just telling you, just watch, this is lecture 34. Just watch lecture 1 to 33 and solve as many mocks as possible. Don't refer to any books per se. Whatever we are reading it from multiple sources along with the PYQs and all the questions which we are taking. So the only thing which you have to do is you have to trust your source. Good evening, Kaizen. So you have to trust your source. What do I mean by that is just follow these lectures, revise these lectures multiple times, and for beginners also this will be applicable. And once you have, remembered the most important aspects of these lectures rather, then solve as many mocks as possible. PYQs are included here. Many questions I include here. Today also we'll solve many questions at the end of the session. Apart from that, solve as many mocks as possible and make a notes of all these lectures which you're doing, because again, this will be, if you start making notes, you will realize that yes, you need to make notes. You won't be remembering things at one go. So you need notes. Make notes of these lectures plus your mocks. So that would suffice, Priya. You don't need to do anything more than that. Please don't do anything more than that. That would be too much. So Orientalist people, we are talking about Far East people who are somewhat supportive of our culture. So even Warren Hastings is one of the Orientalists. Please understand this. They can give you this question. Who among the following are Orientalist? Who among the following are Anglicist? So you have to understand this. Fine. So Sir William Jones. Sir William Jones is a guy, we'll talk about all these guys later on also, who is associated with Asiatic, Society of Bengal, which was established in 1784. Purpose is the same, that we have to understand the culture of Asia in general and India in particular, Asiatic Society of Bengal. So they published some journal. Most of the book, like even in PYQ, they have asked about this Asiatic Society of Bengal, who established it. So the answer is Sir William Jones. When? 1784. 4 years after, 1788, he started a journal inside this Asiatic Society of Bengal, which was known as Asiatic Researches. Most of the book has not talked about it. UPSC has not asked question on Asiatic Researches. They have asked question on Asiatic Society of Bengal. This is covered in 8th NCRT, 8th class NCRT. They have talked about Asiatic Researches, so you need to know about Asiatic Researches. Fine, sir. James Prinsep, he's the guy who deciphered Brahmi script, in which, you have your Ashokan inscriptions written, and his decipherment of Brahmi script went a long way in us understanding Ashokan inscription. And then you have Max Muller, who talked about Vedic period, who was a German and who studied a lot about ancient Indian history, and his studies helped us a lot. And Upinder Singh Ma'am's book, which we have talked about, Ancient and Early Medieval India, that talks a lot about, or that, cites a lot from Max Muller theories. Fine, sir. So these are the people who were somewhat supportive of our culture, and they gave us a pride that yes, sir, our culture is not decadent. Our culture is not as bad as portrayed by Anglicists. So these are the points which you have to keep in mind. So we were very proud. Like here, American people, they have these kind of haircuts. We have these kind of haircuts, and we are very proud of it, because this is us and this is our, culture. Again, this is just a joke. Don't take it to your heart. Similarly, we need to understand one thing. Everybody has to have pride in their culture, because every culture is unique in their own way. So and because if you don't have pride, then what will happen? You won't have enough confidence, enough faith in yourself and in your capabilities, and that is not very helpful. So because we have faith in our capabilities, we are able to launch this particular thing. We can hunt down enemy satellites now. And this particular mission here, history and current affairs are merging. This particular mission is known as Mission Shakti. Please read about it. This was covered in current affairs as well. And this Mission Shakti is very important from exam perspective. You have to now find out, like Pakistan are like, we don't even have satellite. So hunting satellite is a different thing altogether. We don't even have satellite, and that's why Imran Khan is so happy. So again, Mission Shakti, capability of hunting down satellite. India is a part of those selected nations which has a capability of hunting down enemy satellites. Now you have to find out who are the other countries who has this particular capability. Pakistan, obviously, though they don't even have satellites. Why would they want to hunt satellite? So they are in a different category, but you have to find out. This Mission Shakti is important from exam perspective. History and current affairs are merging here. Fine, sir. So let's talk about why this social awakening happened. Why we talked about abolition of Sati, widow remarriage, why we had Arya Samaj, why we had, Brahmo Samaj, why these things happened. So scholars like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Radha Kandev, M.G. Ranade, all these guys, they are educated, they are learning a lot from different cultures, and they are talking about something known as rationalism. Then there's so many things. Humanism. We have to understand these terms. Please understand this. These terms, they can be asked in exam also. What is the basic difference between rationalism and humanism? And we will see some more terms. So you need to know these terms. Most of the people know about Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Brahmo Samaj. Most of the people don't know about Radha Kande. We'll talk about him. He was one of the biggest adversary of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. He was a guy who was very educated. He's a guy who is full of contradictions. We'll talk about him in detail later on. So he was full of contradiction. When Raja Ram Mohan Roy was doing so many things, Raja Ram Mohan Roy was doing to, convince Britishers, especially Sir William Bentinck, to abolish Sati. At that time, Radha Kandev sir was like, no, we don't want abolition of Sati. We want Sati to continue. These Britishers, they have no rights to interfere in our, religious affairs. Radha Kandev, he was like, no, we want Sati. You may feel like, sir, how backward looking Radha Kandev sounds here. No, the reality is he was very educated and he played a crucial role in education of so many girls. The point is, these two guys are big adversaries, Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Radha Kandev. So in other scenarios, he is very forward-looking, Radha Kandev. But when it comes to Sati, he promoted Sati. He was like, no, I don't want abolition of Sati. We'll talk about Radha Kandev. He's a very, very interesting personality when we talk about socio-religious reform movement. So you need to understand one thing. UPSC currently is delving into, especially as far as history is concerned, when we are looking into other papers also conducted by UPSC, be it NDA or CDS or geoscientist exam or any other exam. So we are seeing a trend. UPSC in history is venturing into unexplored areas. Radha Kandev, they have not asked much. Raja Ram Mohan Roy, everybody knows about it. Brahmo Sabha, Brahmo Samaj, Samvad Comedy and all those stuff, like different books and things associated with him. M.G. Ranade, will talk about Indian National Social Conference. So many things associated with M.G. Ranade. But Radha Kandev, relatively not asked much. So we need to focus on him. We'll talk about it. Detrimental effect of Christian missionaries, as we have discussed, they are like white man's burden. Your culture is so decadent, so backward looking. You believe in, good evening Kritika, so you believe in, circular time concept. So they were trying to impact our morale, impact our confidence, impact our sensitivities, and we did not like it. So all these factors, see, this is one of the quotes related to these Christian missionaries who is reading Holy Bible. Again, this is just a joke. You can have a look at it. I'm not reading it. So social condition, we have talked about the causes of social awakening. What factors facilitated these socio-religious reform movements? The second fact is social conditions that facilitated the reform. What was the condition of India at that particular point of time? So we had something known as caste system. Just give me a second. Hope I'm audible. If at any point of time I'm not audible to all of you, you can, tell me. So one thing, social conditions that facilitated reform. First point is what we are talking about. Yes, caste system. Generally, when we talk about caste system, when we talk about, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, caste system was much more than that. We have jati concept and so many things. Like it's not only about Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Inside Brahman, you have Kankuj Brahman, you have Maithil Brahman, you have so many things which is going on here. Varna, Jati, it's all mixed right now. But one thing which has not mixed is it's very rare. Like if you are in the lower caste, so-called lower caste or classes, in different countries, in other countries, if you work hard enough, if you are very successful, you can move upward in the social mobility. But in our country, there is something called a social mobility index also. You can search it. Who publishes social mobility index? You will realize that India is topping from the bottom. When I last searched about it, you can have a look at it. India was ranked 76 out of 80 countries, social mobility index. What I'm trying to tell you here is it's very difficult. I had a friend in my college who was from SC or ST background who got some lakh rank. I was in a NIT and many people used to ridicule him. I am a Brahmin. There was another Brahmin who used to live with me and he was like, no, he should not be sitting with us. These kind of thoughts, you may feel like, sir, any educated person will not think that way. No, sir. Even in current 21st century people, there are some people who think that way. That, oh my God, I am a Brahmin. I will not sit with a Shudra and all those stuff. This is a reality of current 21st century also. Not like everyone, but there are some people. So that guy whose rank was in lakh, who went to NIT, who studied with me, later on he became a much better coder than me and he is currently in US and he's earning in crores and I'm so proud of him. So that happens when you work hard enough. At least he got that opportunity. I'm not saying that reservation should happen, not happen. That is not the talk I'm having. I'm just telling you that people have these notions that he's from this particular caste, so he will not sit with me, he will not eat with me. Not even that, he will not sit in the same room I am sitting. Good evening, Nikhil. Okay, so let's focus, bro. Social mobility index, your homework is find out India's ranking. So caste system, degraded position of women, sati system, all these conditions facilitated the reforms which we are talking about. Religious and social ills, that is what they are discussing here. Superstition, idolatry, polytheism, all these things were there. And this is also a concept which many people believe in, that let's say anything pooped on my head, I am invincible, or if a cat is crossing my path, so my day will be doomed. So all these things, again, social ills. Depressing position of women. Please understand, we have to take out points which will be important from exam perspective. I'll be giving you questions at the end. So have a mind, like look at these slides minutely, whatever I'm saying, listen to me minutely. You have to solve those questions at the end and you have to get all of them correct. Fine. So what we are discussing, depressing position of women. Now here there are certain concepts. All of you or most of you may know about polygamy, monogamy, polygamy. All these things are very common, like we know about it. But what is Kulinism? Do you have any idea about what is Kulinism? Anybody has heard about Kulinism? Then we'll talk about what 12th class NCERT talks about, the condition of women. Because NCERT matters, their content matters, especially from UPSC perspective. So anybody has any idea what is Kulinism? So Kulinism means women should be married in the same class or higher class. Women cannot marry beyond their class. That is Kulinism. Sena dynasty, which ruled in the early medieval period and some portion of medieval period, Sena dynasty of Bengal, they introduced this particular concept of Kulinism, that women should marry in the same class or upper class. It doesn't matter whom they are marrying. So since they cannot marry in the lower class, and they have to marry in the same class or upper class, even they were getting married to older people. 15-year girl getting married to 50, 60-year guy because of the concept of Kulinism, because she cannot marry labor, I think, sir. Yeah. So Kulinism is basically when woman has to get married in the same class or the upper class. That is the basic concept of Kulinism. And that is what they are saying. And when these 15-year-old girl, let's say she's getting married to a 70-year-old guy, he's not actually a guy, and that guy will die, obviously. Let's say he's die at 80, 10 years after, she is 25, then she had to commit sati. All these things were happening, and it was actually a natural state of affair according to class 12th NCERT chapter 3. Chapter 3, I think, is based on 3 characters. You can confirm it. Yeah, this is actually disgusting, Kuleen Pratha. So what I'm saying is that there is one particular chapter of class 12, I have given you homework earlier also, where you have 3 particular guys, that is Al-Biruni, Ibn Battuta, and the third one is Bernier. So they are talking about this slavery system, Sati system. Ibn Battuta, he wrote a particular book called Rihla. And he arrived during the period of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Please remember these facts, Jativad kind of thing. Yeah. So remember these facts, these are important. Muhammad bin Tughlaq period. And he is talking about that he purchased horses, camel and slaves as gifts. Slavery was very common. And again, these are the social conditions which were common even beyond that, even in 18th and 19th century India, and even in some portion of 20th century. Bernier, Francois Bernier. We have talked about him earlier also when we have talked about Mughals, where he believed that all the lands are Khalisa land, crown land. So this Bernier, he wrote his book devoted to Louis XIV of France, Travels in Mughal Empire, and there he talked about child sati in Lahore, that there is a girl who is very young age, and because of Kulinism and everything, she got married to a very old guy, and then that guy died and she was forced to commit sati, and that happened in Lahore. So all these things were very common, and these conditions facilitated the socio-religious reform movements, which we will talk about. So 73 years old husband dies, society tells to 14-year wife that get in this particular fire, and that is sati for you. Social condition, the caste problem, we have talked about it. Please understand one thing, this caste system, Varna system which you talk about, generally we associate with Hinduism, and in Christianity, in Islam, it is believed that that system is not there. But it is there, but in a smaller version. It's not that big a problem in other religion as it is a problem in our religion, that is Hinduism. So untouchability and all these things. Now you have to remember one thing, which particular article of Indian Constitution abolishes untouchability? Do you have any idea about it? Which particular article talks about abolition of untouchability? If you know it, you can post it in the comment section. So this low caste problem, even if you earn in crores, please understand this is very important for you. In our current Indian structure, doesn't matter how much you are earning. If you are a Shudra, if you are an SC, ST, howsoever much like you earn, you will be treated a certain way. That's why we rank so low in social mobility index. Like I've told you, there was one time when I've read, out of 80 countries, our ranking is 76. So Kaizen, Charita, Kritika, everybody is saying Article 17. Very good. So I was born low caste. Will you eat this? One who feeds the hungry is of the highest caste. Fine, sir. Social condition we are talking about, and again, untouchability, caste system, all these things, not so good condition of women, sati, slavery, facilitated the reforms. That's what we are talking about. Who want caste system to be abolished? See, this is again a thing which many of you may have been facing. Like we talk about caste system should not be there, and then we have talks, like I had a talk with a relative. He was like no, you should marry in your own caste, because that girl will be knowing about, there are certain traditions and customs which she will be knowing better than other people. Let's say you marry outside the caste, that girl will not be knowing the actual reality and everything. That is true. But there are other things also which is true, like you should not be forcing yourself. Again, I cannot comment on this thing, you people can comment. And again, this is a meme related to caste system. Who wants caste system to be abolished? But like so many people wants it to be abolished. If I ask you, many of you will want caste system to be abolished. Exactly, we are breathing the same air. But if I ask you, will you marry outside your caste? Many people will be like, no sir. I will give you an example for this. Like I'm 30 plus now. There was a time when my mother was like, you are a Mathil Brahman, marry a Mathil Brahman girl. And then she was like, marry a Brahmin girl. Now she's like, marry beta, marry, at least marry a girl. So her, views have reduced somewhat. Again, please understand, these kind of things are very, very common everywhere, anywhere and everywhere. Other conditions that facilitated the reforms, opposition to Western culture, because as we have just discussed, Rudyard Kipling, white man's burden theory, all these things, they're trying to, show our culture in a very depreciating or in a very, very bad manner. There are certain things which is not good with our culture. There are certain traditions, customs, agreed. But it's not like everything is bad, bro. And it's not like we believe in that white man's burden theory. Who gave you the right to, civilize us, so-called civilizers? White man's burden, Rudyard Kipling. So that is what they are like talking about, that we we're not like, there are certain things good in Western culture, we adopted it, but not everything which you are saying, we are agreeing with it. We have a right to, or we can agree to disagree. And that is what is written here. Asian countries, who are you? Why have you come to our home? So white men like, I'm white man, I'm burdened with glorious purpose. We did not believe in this thing. We are like, no bro, we don't believe in your, we believe in Rudyard Kipling's poems and verses. They are fine, they are awesome, good to read as a child, but we don't believe in the white man's burden concept. No thank you sir, you can go to your home. New awareness among enlightened Indians. So as we can talk about Western education and everything, this Western culture, they had bad things about them. They wanted to demoralize us in any way possible. We didn't want to get demoralized. But one good thing which emerged out of this Western education was emergence of the middle class or the intelligentsia. Like when you will talk about the Indian national movement, we'll talk about this middle class intelligentsia. They played a crucial role in spreading social awareness, also in spreading national consciousness also. So again, new awareness among enlightened Indians, and you will see that will play a crucial role in the rise of these socio-religious reform movement. That's just a joke. Social and ideological base. So when you're talking about these socio-religious reform movements, sir, I want to say, okay, Kaizen, sir, if intercaste marriage happens, upper caste parents or siblings are killing the lower caste person, sir. Yes, in certain portions of our country that is happening, but it's not like everywhere you'll be facing this. You know, that's not, yes, we can say in some part there is khap panchayat also in certain areas. So yes, that issue is there, Kaizen, but not everywhere. So yeah, that is one point which we have to keep in mind. So when you're talking about the social and ideological base, so here middle class and the intelligentsia will come into picture, who will provide a particular base for the socio-religious reform movement. See, these points you have to keep it in mind for pre as well as mains. They can be asked in different ways. So that's what they are saying. Middle class, which will be emerging out of this Western education, so-called Western education, they will play a crucial role in the emergence of these socio-religious reform movements. So here there are certain terms. We know what are the social and ideological base which will pave path for socio-religious reform movement. That is the middle class, the intellectual class. Now here there are certain terms which we have to keep in mind from exam perspective, like rationalism, religious universalism and humanism. Do people have any idea about these terms? What do they mean? I think I wanted to tell you earlier also, but let's have a discussion on these words. These words, Brahmo Samaj, infallibility of Vedas, there will be certain terms which we have to understand from exam perspective, especially from pre perspective. This will also help you in the mains perspective. Now let's first of all talk about these three terms. They can ask you the meaning of these terms in pre. Rationalism, religious universalism and humanism. Just give me a second. So yes, sir, you have 30 more seconds. So what is rationalism? What is religious universalism? What is humanism? So rationalism means, the basic concept in rationalism is that whatever things you are deducing based on your knowledge, not based on any religious views you have or based on your emotions. Rationality is based on your knowledge. You will deduce different situations rather than basing it on your religious beliefs or your emotions. From today, I'm also coming to your class for study, sir. Okay, Nikhil. So rationalism, please understand, it's based on your rationality, it's based on your knowledge, it's not based on your religious beliefs or your emotions. So rationalism. Religious universalism, as they keep on saying that, okay, different religion, they may have different attributes, but destination of all these religions is the same. They have the core tenets of all these religions are the same, although on the outside they may look different. There are some Abrahamic religion, there are some non-Abrahamic religion. That's fine. But religious universalism says, in simple terms, the path may be different, destination is same. Even certain aspects of the path is also same. Certain attributes of different religions are also same. Many of these attributes may be different. So religious universalism. Simple terms, destination can be different. Source can be different, destination is the same. So religious universalism is one religion. No, like religious universalism is every religion is saying the same thing. Maybe the words are different. Then humanism. Humanism means when we are talking about something, people will be at the core of the talk. It's not about believing in supernatural stuff. Rather than supernatural stuff, God or anything you want to call it, we will be keeping human at the center of every talk. Humanity will be the center of every talk. Humanism focuses on human more rather than anything else, be it a supernatural stuff, be it God, be it anything else. So humanism means we are keeping human at the core, and our talks will revolve around this particular human or humanity, so to say. So that is secularism means we are not giving preference to any particular religion, and every religion will be treated with equal respect. So that is secularism. That is different. So rationalism, religious universalism, humanism, these words are important. Keep it in mind. They can be asked in pre-mains anywhere and everywhere. Fine, sir. So now here Raja Ram Mohan Roy will talk about his Brahmo Samaj. So here he is talking about rationality. Then there will be two terms which will come later on. Reformism, revivalism. What is the basic meaning of reformism? What is the basic meaning of revivalism? Fine. So reformism versus revivalism. What is reformism? What is revivalism? Just simple understanding will suffice here. When we talk about Brahmo Sabha or Brahmo Samaj, they are not same. There is difference between them. Again, we'll discuss it later on. So this can be kept in reformism. When you talk about revivalism, you can talk about Arya Samaj. So what is the basic difference between reformism and revivalism? Charita, Raja Ram Mohan Roy abolished Sati. He played a crucial role in abolition of Sati, Charita. He cannot himself abolish Sati. He has to get Britishers' approval. That happened due to the efforts of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. It was abolished during the tenure of Sir William Bentinck. William Bentinck, who was the first Governor General of India. So we'll talk about it later on. So Brahmo Samaj, reformism, revivalism, Arya Samaj, but that's actually a good knowledge, Charita. Awesome. So now what is reformism? What is revivalism? So Brahmo Samaj says that our religion, Hinduism, and means Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he will be saying that our religion, Hinduism, is awesome. It's awesome. We have no issues. Like we have some issues with Hinduism, but all in all, it's awesome. And there are certain things which we have to think from rationality perspective, from religious universalism perspective, from humanism perspective. And from that perspective, if we keep humanism at the center, if we keep human at the core of any particular ideology, if we think from rationality perspective, Sati fits neither, like it's not means confining to rationalism, it's not adhering to humanism concept, and that's why we should abolish Sati. So what he is saying is, Brahmo Samaj is saying that any particular religion, or reformism says that any particular religion is awesome, but it has to adapt to a changing society, changing culture, and some changes are needed as per the changes of society. So we are not drastically changing the society or changing the religion, so to say. So positive change basically is a kind of change. We need change, some amount of change in a particular religion, and that is reformism. We have to adapt. That is the basic meaning. Revivalism means no, our religion is awesome. We have to go back to the pristine old religion which we had witnessed earlier. Like Arya Samaj, they have a very awesome quote established in 1875 by Dayanand Saraswati, and they talk about something known as back to the Vedas. They are saying that everything which is written in Veda is sacrosanct, infallible. Like we have talked about Astic school and Nastic school, orthodox and heterodox school. So here also Arya Samaj, Swami Dayanand Saraswati, back to the Vedas. That is revivalism. We have to revive our old culture. We have to revive our lost glory. That is revivalism. Reformism means our religion is awesome, but we have to adapt according to the changing needs of the society. We have to think about a particular religion from rationalism and humanism perspective. That is your reformism. So these words are important, keep it in mind. Social awakening movements can be grouped into two schools, reformist and revivalist. So please understand these words are important. Reformist, the school felt again, I'm not reading the whole thing, we have discussed this idea. The core tenets of reformism revolves around humanism and rationalism, and we have talked about what is humanism, what is rationalism, what is religious universalism. Very good. When I'm studying history, I literally cried because of torture they did to us. Torture everybody did to everybody, Charita. When you read history, you will realize that the person who are at the upper hierarchy, more or less they will torture people at the lower hierarchy. Be it any society, in any country, in any part of the world. So torture, you cannot do anything about torture. There are different ways of torture. If you want to know different ways of torture, You can Google it, you can watch it on YouTube. They will show you different ways of torture. Oh my God, let's not go to the torture topic. So reformism, we have to reform society. Please remember Brahmo Samaj, Brahmo Sabha, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, proponent of reformism, and reformism is based on the two basic attributes of rationalism and humanism. We have talked about it. Revivalism, we have to go back to the old pristine culture of ours. Arya Samaj, back to the Vedas, cutting the thumbs at one time. That is one way of torture. There are so many other ways also. So reformism and revivalism. We have talked about reformism. Revivalism focused on golden ancient period of Indian efforts to bring back the past glory. Golden age, Gupta period is the golden age, you know. So much things were happening in different domains. So we have to bring back our old era, our old pristine era. And we have talked about what is revivalism. Back to the Vedas, Arya Samaj, that would suffice for you. Again, we don't need to do PhD here. So we have to revive the old age, old pristine glory. Now, when you talk about socio-religious reform movement, there is one aspect which you have to understand, that is types of reform movements. What different types of reform movements are there? So there can be different types of reform movements. One can be reform from within, you know. And please understand this, 1857 revolt which happened. Many people believe that 1857 revolt happened because Britishers forced these social changes on us. And currently, like we have talks currently, we have a very sensitive society right now where there are so much talks regarding religion, culture of different varieties, you know. So that is fine because here talks are going on, introspection is going on, that is awesome. This is reform from within. When external forces are not pressurizing us. Britishers are not pressurizing us to abolish sati or to promote widow remarriage. Those things are happening on our own. Gradually, changes are happening in society. People are realizing that, okay, she got widowed at 25. So how can she live alone all through her life? So she should be getting remarried. So that is fine. That is the change which is happening from within rather than any external pressure. So this is reform from within. This is one type of reform movement. Then second is reform via legislation. You know, when you talk about let's say Dowry Prohibition Act 1961. So dowry, people are like, and if we leave society to decide dowry or not, people are like, no, this is not dowry. The girl is coming to our house. She's bringing some gifts, only 20 lakhs and one bike or Bajaj Pulsar or car or something like that. So this is just a gift. Or maybe her parents has given these gifts for her. This is for her, not for us. So you can term dowry in different ways. So then it's like, no bro, we need legislation. So this is one other form of reforms where reforms are brought via legislation. Age of Consent Act. There was a time when girls used to be married by 10 age, or like before 10, before 12. So you need to improve or increase the age of consent, because there was a time around 1880s, 1890s when so many girls died because of, because they are married so young and during all these sexual intercourse, they died. And then the protest started that, dude, we need to increase the age of consent. Girls are dying. You are marrying them so young. An Age of Consent Act was introduced. We'll talk about it later on. And you will see in 1890s, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he protested against the Age of Consent Act. He was like, dude, why are you bringing reform via legislation? Who are Britishers to decide what will be the age of consent? And now currently we have POCSO, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012, where the age of consent is 18. What does it mean actually? Many people have confusion regarding age of consent. The meaning here is, let's say you get involved with a girl who is less than 18. Doesn't matter whether she gives consent or not. That is a rape scenario. If you are getting involved with her in sexual manner and she is less than 18, that is the age of consent, POCSO. And POCSO will be applied to you. So that has increased to 18 now. There was a time when it was 12, then 14, now it is 18. So be very aware about all these things. So this is reform via legislation. Because if you wait for society to bring the changes, maybe that will be too late and society will bear a lot of brunt. So all these things we have to understand. Dowry is now silver coated as gift. Exactly, Kritika. So this is reform via legislation. Then reform via social change. Reform via social change means what? I will give you an example. Indian National Congress, it was established in 1885. Just like currently, like in current scenario, religion is such a hot topic. Good evening, Deepshika. So in current scenario, religion is a very hot topic. Nobody wants to touch it. And I am of the firm opinion that I will never let people get divided on the basis of religion. Doesn't matter what happens to me in the end, because anyway I have to die sooner rather than later, or maybe later. But anyway, so much division has happened on religion. So what I'm trying to tell you is, people are very wary of religion these days. People were very wary of religion earlier also. 1885, Indian National Congress was established. So Indian National Congress people, they were like, dude, we will not touch the religion aspect. We'll not talk about Hinduism and the changes in Hinduism or Islam or something like that. Let's make another organization which will deal with that, and that was known as Indian National Social Conference, which was formed by M.G. Rana Day. So they will talk about Indian National Social Conference also. It's almost everywhere. Greed has no limit. So what we are talking about here is, I'm reading your comments and I'm getting distracted by it. So what I'm trying to tell you is, Indian National Social Conference was created and it was considered as the social wing of Indian National Congress. Whenever Indian National Congress meeting used to happen, Indian National Social Conference also used to meet, but that was a different thing. You know, they were two separate things because Indian National Congress did not want themselves to get involved in the religious aspect. Now, there are organizations who were like, dude, we will not get into the religious aspect. What we will do is, we'll try to change the social indicator. We'll try to improve the health aspect of the society, educational aspect of the society, and slowly and gradually, let's say we move from third world to second world or first world countries, slowly and gradually things will change on its own. That is reform via social change. Let's not do the change on its own, or rapidly, or force people to do certain things. Let's change the social indicators, let's improve the social indicators, and things will change on its own. So there are different types of reform movements which you have to understand. Reform from within, that we shouldn't be forced by Britishers or any other people or via legislation. These things will happen on its own. And here Raja Ram Mohan Roy talked about Vedanta, talked about Vedas, that nowhere in the Vedas it is written that Sati should be happening and Sati should be done. He believed that India should learn from West, not copy the West, and reform should happen from within rather than forcing people to change via legislation, etc. Then, like, this is Dil Cheer. In our time, there was a song, stupid song, like, not a stupid song, it's an awesome song, Dil Cheer Ke Dekh. Again, this is Divya Bharti. The song meaning was that if you tear my heart, you will see my name or your name in it. So that means that we have to look inside. This is reform from within. I know this is stupid, but hope you're understanding. Reform from within. You have to look inside yourself. Change, things will happen on its own. So when I studied political science, in that I read religion is the cause of caste system. Religion is the cause of so many things, Charita. So yes, it is a cause of caste system as well. Reform through legislation. We know if we keep on thinking about reform from within, slowly and gradually things will happen. People will change on their own. Like our fathers were different, we are different, our kids will be different. So that's fine, but that will take its own sweet time. And so in certain areas, we don't have that own sweet time. Like we were talking about Age of Consent Act. Then there is something which is known as female infanticide. In states like Haryana people don't kill me, the child sex ratio is very low, and there was a time when girls used to be killed a lot. Female child used to be killed a lot in the preference of male child. This is not like something I'm telling out of the ordinary. Everybody knows about it. There was a time around 2013, 2014, there were certain local elections. I don't know what. You can Google it. You will see those pamphlets where different political parties were saying that we will bring girls from Bihar and UP to marry off the Haryana guys because there were not enough girls in Haryana. That was the situation which happened because of female infanticide. What I'm trying to tell you here is, sometimes you cannot wait for reform from within. You need legislation when it comes to dowry prohibition or, minimizing female infanticide, increasing the age of consent act, all these things. Rajasthani Piplantri village girl child is considered as gift. That is so awesome, Charita yaar. This is such a good thing which you have written. Read what Charita has written. So again, reform through legislations are needed in certain scenarios when reform from within is taking their own sweet time. Then there are some people who are radical, who are bringing reform through symbol of change. And here comes Henry Louis Vivian de Rosio, who started something known as Young Bengal movement. His time period, if I remember correctly, it's from around 1809 to 1831. He died at a very young age of 22, 23. In that sweet young age, he became a professor. He inspired so many people, and he was like, dude, if you have issues with anything, question anything and everything. And that came with its own set of repercussions. During his time, he faced a lot of issues. Young Bengal movement faced a lot of issues. But later on, Surendranath Banerjee, we'll talk about Surendranath Banerjee. He was like these young, Derosians. The followers of De Rosio were known as Derosians. They were the ones who started asking questions, who in a way played a crucial role in starting this Bengal Renaissance, these socio-religious reform movements. So yes, Derosians, they started questioning everything. They are symbols of change. They are like, in the words of Honorable PM Modi sir, that we are not liking stuff, bro. We are not liking the status quo. We are not liking what is happening in society currently. We want change. And how can we like bring change? By asking or questioning people. Like my father, my mother, they kill me almost every day. Marry, please beta, marry. There was a time when I did not talk to them for 9 months. My question to them was, nobody has married because like nobody has died because they are single, but many people life has become hell when they're marrying wrong. And there is a saying which goes on, like sometimes people marry just because everybody is marrying. Sometimes you have to also see whether you are a marriage material or not, whether you'll be a good husband or a good wife. Just because everybody is marrying, you are also marrying, that's not a good thing to do, you know. You have to see who you are. Can you be a good father? Can you be a good mother? Can you be a good husband? Can you be a good wife? So you have to ask. And when I start asking these questions, my parents don't like me. Same thing was happening with these young Bengali, means Derosians or young Bengal movement followers. People were not liking him at that time, but people realized the importance of this particular movement, you know, almost 50, 60 years later. So all these things happen and we have to understand this. So this is reform through symbol of change. As Honorable Modi sir is saying that we're not loving it anymore, the status quo, we have to bring change. Okay, sir, reform through social work. Social work means, as we have just discussed, what we were discussing, I forgot. Yeah, so religion is a very sensitive topic. Nobody wants to touch it. So there are certain people who are like, dude, we will not talk about religion. We'll try to improve health indicators, education indicators. When people will become more educated, obviously they will start questioning things which won't make sense. Like we were talking about this thing, marriage. Just don't marry for the sake of marrying. Think whether it is actually made for you or you are made for marriage or not. So there are so many things to ponder upon. So again, reform through social work. They are like, we will not directly target religion, we'll target the social indicators, and religion will be targeted by these people indirectly. So all these things. So this is reform through social work. So again, because why reform through social work? Why not changing religion directly? Because religion is a sensitive topic. People are sensitive about religion, just like this kid is sensitive and he is crying. Okay, sir. Female issue reforms. There are certain terms which are important. When we talk about female issue reforms, there are so many issues. Henry Vivian Derozio, called as first nationalist poet of India, sir. Very good here. Writes, it's better to stay single than to marry wrong. Very nice. So female issue reforms, abolition of Sati. See, there are so many things which you already know and which we have studied from school time. But then there are certain terms which we have to know from UPSC perspective. Like many people have read this from childhood onwards that Sati was abolished in 1829. That is not the actual truth. Sati was abolished in 1829 in Bengal presidency, and that was a test case. When they realized that this is proving successful here, then they extended it in Madras and Bombay presidency in 1830. And these are the three major presidencies. When we have talked about the acts in the previous lecture and previous to previous lecture, we have talked about these presidencies, you know. So please understand this. This is the point which most of the people don't know, that Sati was not, you know, prohibited all over India at once. First, it was applied in Bengal presidency 1829, and then this thing was extended in Madras and Bombay presidency in 1813. This is one thing which you have to keep in mind. Then the second point is these two words. What is the difference between culpable homicide and, sir, only in Bengal they focused here. So culpable homicide and murder. So you will hear these words a lot, and maybe if UPSC has to make some tough questions, they can make this particular question. That difference between culpable homicide and murder. So there is an example for it. We should be knowing about these terms, and these are the tricky terms which nobody knows. Do you know the difference between culpable homicide and murder? Let me give you 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 seconds. So again, if we talk about culpable homicide and murder, let's try to take it, understand it via some examples. What do I mean when I'm saying that let's try to understand it via some examples? Let's say you are a actor, Bollywood actor, who is, you know, drunk and who is doing drunk driving, and you killed some people when you were doing rash driving because you were not in your senses, because you had drunk a lot and you love to drink and you were doing drinking and driving. So you killed some people. That is culpable homicide. But let's say you are going to somebody's house with a knife or a short caliber gun or something with the intention to kill. That is murder. So like murder is an expanded version of culpable homicide. In culpable homicide also people can be killed. Murder is like when you have actually killed. So murder is more extreme form of culpable homicide. Hope you're understanding. And this is one of the basic example to understand culpable homicide. You are doing some act which may cause death, but murder is murder. You have caused death, So more grievous form is the murder form. Culpable homicide, just understand drunk driving. And the second one is when you are going with, knives and everything, you are going to kill. So that is the thing. In one instance, people can get killed. In other instance, you will be killing people. So that is culpable homicide versus murder. Murder has intention of killing. Culpable homicide does not have intention. Intention may or may not be there, but yes. There is a may or may not scenario in culpable homicide. Murder is you have killed. That's why the murder thing has been levied on you, Yeah. So culpable homicide and murder, please understand, murder is much more grievous than culpable homicide. People can die in culpable homicide. People had died in murder. So that's why that murder charge. Female infanticide. We are talking about female issue reforms. Sati thing we have talked about. The major issue, the confusion which people have, 1829 only in Bengal, 1830 Madras and Bombay. This also you have to keep in mind. And during the period of Sir William Bentinck, and as I think Charita said, due to the efforts of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who is regarded to be one of the first modern man of India. We'll talk about him later as well. Female infanticide. Like we have taken the case of Haryana. It's not only confined to Haryana. And it's happened right now also. Economic Survey also talked about it, that even now this happens. People kill, and like I will tell you, in certain hospitals, this is a norm. I have seen, I cannot take the name because that would become a legal issue then. But sometimes what will happen, let's say you have a relative, she had a son. They're like, oh my God, congratulations, you had a son. And if the same thing reverses, let's say you had a daughter. You had a daughter. I have seen it. I have seen it in front of my eyes in the hospital. The change in emotion of the nurse and everyone. I don't know it's deliberate or not, but you can see it. People are not that happy when they have it's not always, but you may see that, or you may have seen that in hospitals if you have ever seen the delivery or those stuff. So yes, that is what we are talking about. Sometimes it will go beyond that, where they will not want the girl child. That is female infanticide. So acts were passed in different years to curb this female infanticide or to minimize this female infanticide. That is fine. We understood female infanticide, the issue of Haryana, etc., etc. Now there are certain terms which we have to understand from exam perspective. IMR and MMR. You can see here there are two words which are written. These are very important. History and social indicators, health especially is merging here. So IMR, infant mortality rate, MMR, maternal mortality rate. What is the basic difference between IMR and MMR? Oh my God. So infant mortality rate means per 1000 live births, how many children are dying within 1 year of birth? So 1000 live births are happening. Please understand these terms. These terms are very, very important. They have already been asked in UPSC. So IMR is per 1000 live births, how many children are dying? How many kids are dying within 1 year? Per 1000 within 1 year. Within 1 year of their birth, child death. Per 1000 live births within 1 year. This is called infant mortality rate. Currently, it's hovering around 25-26. India's infant mortality rate. What does it mean? That when you have 1000 live births, around 25.5 kids die. And that's why, like, my sister had a baby. Such a cute baby he is. So we were like worried, because when you read about these data, you know about different possibilities. And this is not a small figure. If 1000 live births are happening, and even in current setup when health indicators have improved so much, even then if 25-26 kids are dying, so it's a matter to worry about. And that's why government focuses on institutional delivery, that we should have, as Charita is saying, institutional delivery. That means sometimes in villages, there will be some elder woman, they will be coming and they will be taking care of the birth thing. Government says, don't do that, sir. Please go to hospitals, that is institutional delivery. Government will provide you some incentive for that. And this is known as Janani Suraksha Yojana. and this is world's largest institutional delivery mechanism. Please remember these things. Again, history, current affairs, everything is merging here. Your homework is to read about Janani Suraksha Yojana, which is world's largest institutional delivery mechanism. Fine, sir. So this is IMR. As we have just discussed, Charita said MMR, number of pregnant women dying giving birth. Very good, Charita. So MMR is maternal mortality rate. Please remember the numbers. Sometimes, I think UPSC has already asked questions on IMR. They will change this to 100 live births. They will change it to within 1 month. So you have to remember these terms. They are all very important. MMR is maternal mortality rate. How many women are dying giving childbirth, as Charita is saying, per 1 lakh live births. So here, the standard is different. It is per 1 lakh live births. So all these terms, all these meanings matter. Infant mortality, maternal mortality, and what is the current? It's currently hovering around 100. 100 means if 1 lakh live births are happening, around 100 mothers are dying in India. And that is less than global average. You have to also find out the global average for IMR as well as MMR. All these things are very important. Okay, sir, let's continue the discussion. PM Matru Vayu Vandana Yojana, cool. Read about Janani Suraksha Yojana as well, Charita. So let's move on, sir. Female infanticide in places like Southeast Asia as well as South Asia. It's a very, not a cool story, it's just a meme, but yes, it's a very tragic story. Widow remarriage. So Widow Remarriage Act, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he played a crucial role. You may have studied it in your childhood. Now the next question comes. Widow Remarriage Act was passed in 1856. So who was the viceroy when widow remarriage, or governor general, whatever you want to call it? So who was the governor general slash viceroy? And it is not slash viceroy, it's governor general only, because viceroy will come into picture from 1858 onwards. So who was the governor general when widow remarriage act was passed? Most of the people now know when Widow Remarriage Act was passed, 1856. Who played a crucial role in the passage of Widow Remarriage Act? Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Why is he called Vidyasagar? Because he played a crucial role in spreading education for girls. There was a Bethune school established by J.E.D. Bethune, and later on he became a secretary of that Bethune school, which became a Bethune College, which was Asia's, oldest girls' college, or which is Asia's oldest girls' college. It is in Calcutta, Bethune College. So that's why he was known as Vidyasagar. It's not like his name ended with Vidyasagar always. That Vidyasagar was a title given to him. So there are terms, things which people know, but we have to go beyond that. So as Dark is saying, Dalhousie, see, widow remarriage, any act, before it becomes a bill, before it becomes an act, it is a bill. So widow remarriage, I will just write WR. Widow remarriage bill was introduced by Dalhousie. So Dalhousie was the guy who introduced this particular widow remarriage bill. But when Widow Remarriage Act was passed, Dalhousie was replaced and Canning has come. So Widow Remarriage Act was passed during the tenure of Lord Canning. So now Lord Canning is very important. If you have seen the previous lectures, we have talked about Lord Canning, that he was the guy who was the Governor General during the time of 1857 revolt. He's the first Viceroy of India, and he is also the guy who is responsible for passage of Widow Remarriage Act, because Widow Remarriage Bill was introduced by Dalhousie, passed during the tenure of Canning. So Canning becomes very important for you. You cannot forget it. Dark and Deep Shikha. Very, very good. Let's move on, bro. Child marriage. Child marriage, Age of Consent Act 1891. Forbid the marriage of girls below age of 12. It's not only about marriage, it's also about consent. It's also about, sexual intercourse and everything. So if, like in 1891, you had sexual intercourse with a girl below age 20, that was statutory rape. So now the age has increased to 18. And you have POXO Act, also Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. Then this age of consent, as you can see, it's very low. So Sarda Act, Child Marriage Restraint Act, was passed in this Sarda Act was passed in 1929, but it was actually implemented from 1930, and that's why I put a question mark there. So age increased for girls like to 14 and for boys 18. These years, you don't have to remember each and everything. You just have to remember Sarda Act is associated with what? So increasing the age of consent or Child Marriage Act, because the actual name is, we'll talk about this, Child Marriage Restraint Act. So Sarda Act. And now, important thing, it is named after who? So this Sarda Act is named after a guy called Harbilas Sarda. Harbilas Sarda. In UPSC, if you have seen UPSC syllabus, pre-mains both, so you have to read about personalities. Personalities, it's not only confined to, Mahatma Gandhi or Rabindranath Tagore and Subhash Chandra Bose. those personalities everybody will read about. Now you have to go deeper and you have to talk about and read about these guys. Sarda Act, named after Harbilas Sarda. Who was he? He was a jurist, he was a lawyer, he was an advocate. Later on he became little bit, like he was a follower of Dayanand Saraswati, and later on he also wrote this particular book. I will show you. So Hindu superiority, an attempt to determine the position of Hindu race in the scale of nation. So maybe you can see Hindu nationalism and everything, he started supporting it later on. Do remember these things, who he was a jurist, he was a lawyer, he was a follower of Swami Dayanand Saraswati. Swami Dayanand Saraswati talked about revivalism, back to the Vedas, Arya Samaj, and you can see certain tenets of those teachings in him, although little bit more extreme in nature. But again, we are nobody to comment on this. Harbilas Sarda, responsible for Sarda Act. Sarda Act passed in 1929, actually implemented from 1930. So these are some things which we have to keep in mind. Fine, sir. Education of women. Bethune School, we have just talked about it. Bethune School started by J.E.D. Bethune. Here, I will tell you a very interesting thing. D in this J.E.D. Bethune stands for drink water. This is so cute. When I read this, so J.E., you can read the full form. J.E. Drinkwater Bethune, that was the name of this sir. He established this Bethune School, which was a girls' school. Later on, it became Bethune College, which was a girls' college, and it was Asia's first girls' college in Kolkata. And later on, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar became the secretary of this Bethune School, Bethune College. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, ocean of knowledge, or sea of knowledge, because he played a crucial role in establishing or starting 35 girls' school. One you can see Bethune School, which became Asia's oldest college, also women's college. Wood's dispatch on education, we'll talk about it later on. Like you have Macaulay Minutes, which was passed in 1830s, where they were like, no bro, Western education is the way to go. Wood's dispatch is like, no bro, vernacular education is the way to go. Apart from that, because it's not like people who are Tamilian or Telugu or Kannada or who are Malayali people, you cannot just go and start speaking with them in English. They have always focused on vernacular language. And it's not only about South Indian languages, bro. Even in North India, you have Awadhi, you have Bhojpuri, you have Maithili, you have those languages. So focus on vernacular languages. It's not always about English. It's a very prestigious college here in Kolkata. Oh my God, Kritika, you are from Kolkata. Like I have one house in Shahpurji, Palanji, Newtown area. So I go to Newtown. But that is not exactly Kolkata. That's, if you say the NCR region of Delhi, so Newtown region. Cool. Good to see fellow Kolkata people here. So Wood's dispatch on education, again, you can have a look at it. We have just discussed the things. And then there are certain quotes related to women which you can use in mains. We'll talk about mains later on. If you educate a man, you educate a man. If you educate a woman, you educate a generation or educate a family. There's so many quotes associated with that. Awesome. Female issue reform, women organization. See, understand one thing. We are reading from pre-perspective. So from pre-perspective, we'll see some questions also. Whatever we have studied up until now, what kind of questions can be asked? And we are just getting started, sir and ma'am. There will be another part of socio-religious reform movements. We'll talk about personalities. We'll talk about, reform movements not only in Hinduism, but outside it as well. Caste movements, and then in Islam and Christianity and other religion also. So there will be part 2 of this also, because this is actually a big topic. There's so many questions which has been asked from this topic, and we'll see those questions as well. So women's organization, here what is important? The chronology. Chronology UPSC loves to ask. They will ask which of these events happened first, organization formed first, or arrange them in chronological order. So this Arya Mahila Samaj, established by Pandit Ramabai Saraswati, this was formed in 1880s. Ramabai Saraswati ma'am. So like in early 1880s, it was formed. In later 1880s, she became Christian. So earlier this Pandit and all those titles was given to her for different reasons, and then she became a Christian. 1880s, Arya Mahila Samaj established by her, local in nature. And then 1910, Sarla Devi Chaudhrani, this is a women organization at national level, Bharat Sri Mahamandal. So this first, again, you can read it. The important part is chronology. Arya Mahila Samaj 1880s, Bharat Sri Mahamandal 1910, then there will be a woman whose name will be Newtown is North Kolkata, the new version of Kolkata. Cool. So what I was saying is, then there will be a woman who will be responsible for making the tunes of Jana Gana Mana. Her name will be Margaret Cousins. She will be establishing All India Women Conference in 1920s. So the most important part here, around which UPSC has revolved a lot, that is, you have to remember the chronology. Arya Mahila Samaj, Bharat Sri Mahamandal, and then All India Women's Conference associated with this is Sarla Devi Chaudhrani ma'am. And then All India Women's Conference associated with Margaret Cousin, ma'am. And a PYQ has already been asked on Margaret Cousin because she is multi-talented, and around 1919 she composed the tune of Jana Gana Mana just the way Rabindranath Tagore wanted it. So that was the question which UPSC I think asked, and we'll talk about that later on also. So Margaret Cousin, important personality, and she established this All India Women's Conference. Which women's organization happened first and last, all these things. Then there are certain important members associated with this particular AIWC, and one of them is Sarojini Naidu, who called one particular guy as ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity. Do you know who that guy was? Whom he called, or whom she called as ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity. She is the first Indian woman president of INC, Indian National Congress. She is like very important when we talk about Indian national movement, and we'll talk about her later on as well. But there is one very interesting thing, question has been asked on it, whom she called as ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity. Any idea? Anyone? Saran ma'am? Chepandis? She called Muhammad Ali Jinnah as ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity. When she called Muhammad Ali Jinnah as ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity, why she called Muhammad Ali Jinnah as ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity, that you will know, in subsequent lectures. You can Google more about it. We'll talk about it later on as well. Fine, sir. So based on whatever we have studied today, again, this is not it. We are just getting started in socio-religious reform movement. Hopefully the next class will be the final class, and I'll be completing all the portions because there's so much to talk about socio-religious reform movement. Based on whatever we have studied, solve this particular question asked in 2021. Oh my God. Who among the following was associated as secretary with Hindu Female School, which later came to be known as Bethune Female School? Annie Besant, Debendranath Tagore, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Sarojini Naidu. Anju has given the answer. Anju, Samrat, Snake, Charita, Divya, very good yaar. So the answer is Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. As we have discussed, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Let's solve some more basic questions. The Young Bengal movement was led by A. Surendranath Banerjee, B. Rajaram Mohan Roy, C. Henry Vivian Derozio, or D. Swami Vivekanand. Young Bengal movement. Anju, I have seen Anju somewhere. Where have I seen Anju? Okay, so Young Bengal movement was led by Henry Vivian Derozio. Very good. As Anju, Charita, Kritika, Samrat and Kaizen said. Theosophical Society, again this is a extra question. Theosophical Society, which promoted spiritual and philosophical ideas, was formed in USA by A. Annie Besant, B. Madam Blavatsky and Alcott, C. Swami Dayanand Saraswati, D. Keshav Chandra Sen. Q to C. Q to C. Okay. Oh, question to C. Okay, cool. Theosophical Society. Snake has given the answer. Samrat has given the answer. The answer is, most of the people feel like Theosophical Society. Annie Besant, will talk about Annie Besant, who she was, how she is associated with Theosophical Society. Again, Theosophical Society is focusing on, as like most of these societies focus on inner purity, think, love, like don't focus too much on external conduct, rituals and all these things. Love it from your heart, focus on helping others and all these like common things, but they are not so common, As they say, common sense is not that common. So Theosophical Society, not formed by Annie Besant. She popularized it in India, but it was formed by Blavatsky and Alcott in 1875 in US. And then Besant will come and later popularize it. This first branch was formed in around 1882 in Adyar, Madras. We'll talk about it. Theosophical Society. She is not the founder. Many people believe her to be the founder. New York to Madras, as Snake is saying. Cool, Snake. Anju, Kritika, Samrat. Very good. Arya Samaj was formed in which year? We have to talk about all these organizations later on. We have so much to talk about on Monday when we'll talk about the part 2 of socio-religious reform movement. We are just getting started. So Arya Samaj was formed in which year? But I have told you the year in today's lecture also. That Theosophical Society, that I did not tell you, that was just a googly. 1828, 1867, 1875, 1893. What is the answer? As Dark is saying, 1875. Arya Samaj was formed in 1875. Very good, Dark and Charita and Kaizen. This is a question asked in 2012 PYQ. And again, this I have told you. Think about it. During Indian freedom struggle, Anju, Samrat, Kritika, Kaizen. During Indian freedom struggle, the National Social Conference was formed. What was the reason for its formation? 8 different social reform groups or organizations of Bengal region united to form a single body to discuss the issues of larger interest and to prepare, oh my god, prepare appropriate petitions, representations to the government. B. Indian National Congress did not want to include social reforms in its deliberations and decided to form a separate body for such a purpose. C. Behramji, Malabari and M.G. Ranade decided to bring together all the social reform groups of the country under one organization. D. None of the statement A, B and C blah, 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 is correct. So what is the answer? Kaizen has given the answer and Dark has given the answer. We have just discussed. Just like you people are terrified of religion and to talk about religion, and same way, everybody was terrified earlier also. Indian National Congress was no exception. We have just discussed. 1885, Indian National Congress was formed. 1887, they formed their social division, which will talk about all these sensitive issues. So INC did not want to include social reforms in its deliberation and decided to form a separate body for such a purpose, which was Indian National Social Conference. As Kaizen, Dark, Charita and Kritika is saying, Samrat, answer is B. And we'll talk about it later on also. Indian National Conference or Social Conference formed by M.G. Ranade, Raghunath Rao, you read it. 1887, first session, Congress session 1885. These sessions happen at the same time. When Congress would meet, the social wing of the Congress will also meet at the same time. Coolism, we have talked about what is coolism. Just on the pretext of coolism, you cannot marry a 15-year-old girl to a 70-year-old guy who is actually not a guy. So, yeah. That's it, sir, for today's part 1 of Socio-Religious Reform Movement. I will share the PDF in this Telegram channel, Fun Study with Shubh, because study should be fun. You can join our March batch, Sampoorna batch. Today it is closing, that is 15th March. You can use my code SHS Live to get maximum discounts. Any queries, any doubts you people have? Or I'll be go gone. Chepandis. Chepandis means tell me. Okay, sir and ma'am. Then I will see you on Monday. Thank you, Kaizen. And that will be part 2 of Socio-Religious Reform Movements. Revise it. The questions will be a little bit trickier because it is the second part and we have to talk a lot about so many things. Take care. Be blessed. Tata. Bye-bye.